Boy begged the Hells Angels, "Don't let her marry him." What happened inside the church went viral. The scream hit the road like a bullet. Don't let her. 70 engines thundered down Main Street, black leather and chrome tearing through the golden light of a Sunday evening. But that one cry, small and cracked and desperate, sliced straight through the noise. Hands hit brakes. Tires screeched. Dust swallowed the sunset. And when the haze cleared, the world saw him. A boy, thin, shoes untied, shirt wrinkled, face streaked with tears. He stood in the middle of the road, shaking, but not moving. Behind him, the white church on the hill glowed in the falling light. Wedding bells rang. Laughter spilled out. People in clean suits and soft perfumes walked inside, believing today was beautiful. It was supposed to be. The kid raised a shaking hand, clutching a bent photograph to his chest. "Please," he begged, voice breaking. "Please don't let her marry him." Before we ride into what happened next, tell us in the comments where in the world you're watching from. And if stories of real courage, brotherhood, and bikers who stand between the innocent and the evil speak to your heart, hit subscribe to Bikers Hype, tap the like button, and share this video with your friends so more people can hear this story. Because tonight, you're about to find out why in Maple Ridge nobody hears the sound of engines the same way anymore. Red was the first to move, oldest of the crew. Long gray beard, face carved by sun, wind, and 1,000 bad choices he'd already paid for. The kind of man folks crossed the street to avoid until they'd seen what he did when someone weaker called for help. He pulled off his helmet, slow and steady. The men behind him, Bear, Doc, Twitch, Blade, Rizzo, Ghost, Slider, and the rest, fell silent. 70 bikers in worn leather, patches, scars, tattoos. Every stereotype a church crowd would hate. Every single one of them staring at a boy barely 9 years old. Red's boots crunched on gravel as he walked up. "Kid," he said, voice low. "What did you just say?" The boy's fingers squeezed the photo tighter. A woman in a white dress. A man in a sharp gray suit smiling like he owned the sky. "She's my mom," the boy whispered. "She's marrying a man who hurts her." The words hit harder than any punch. Bear's jaw flexed. Twitch swore under his breath. Doc's eyes narrowed, every quiet mile of his life sharpening into a single focus. Red crouched to eye level. "What's your name, son?" "Eli." "Okay, Eli," Red said, voice softening in a way most people never heard from him. "You did the right thing coming out here. You'll stop it?" Eli's voice trembled. "You'll make her see?" Red didn't answer right away. He looked over his shoulder at his brothers. Men who'd done time, lost people, carried regrets that didn't wash off in the shower. Men who'd been judged by leather jackets and loud pipes while monsters in suits got handshakes and church seats reserved. They all knew one thing. Nobody believed kids like Eli, and nobody believed men like them. "Red?" Bear asked quietly. Red stood. "We'll make sure she's safe," he said. That was all Eli needed. His knees dipped, like his bones were about to quit before his heart did. But he straightened, wiped his face, and nodded. Red turned to his men. "Sidecar," he said. A minute later, Eli was pressed tight against the leather seat of Red's Harley, the crumpled photo in his hands. The convoy turning as one toward the white church on the hill. The thunder of engines rolled over Maple Ridge. People peeked through curtains. Those bikers again. What now? God help whoever they're riding toward. They had no idea. The church at the top of the hill was the kind that showed up on postcards. White paint, tall steeple, clean steps. Stained glass glowing like soft jewels in the shrinking light. On those steps stood Daniel Fields. Gray suit, perfect tie, gold watch, a smile polished from years of closing deals that crushed people quieter than he'd ever raise his hand. He knew everybody's name, paid for charity dinners, sponsored playground renovations, donated to the church roof fund. A good man. He saw the bikes before anyone else. That smile twitched. The Harleys rolled to a slow, rolling idle along the fence line, chrome catching the light. 70 quiet wolves stopping outside a field of peacocks. The crowd turned. Conversations stopped. The air went thin. Eli climbed out of the sidecar. His legs wobbled, but he didn't fall. Red placed a hand on his shoulder, just enough weight to say, "You're not alone." Eli stepped forward. "Please don't let her marry him," he shouted. The sound carried up the steps, through the doors, down the aisle. Inside the church, she heard it. His mother, Emma, white dress, shaking hands, eyes that smiled for everyone else but not for herself. She froze in front of the mirror. The bouquet trembled. Again, Eli, she whispered. Fields laughed, a tight, controlled sound. Go home, kid, he called down. You're embarrassing your mother. Eli shook his head. His small shoulders straightened. You hurt her? Gasps. Red took a slow step forward. We're not here to wreck your party, sir, he said, voice even. We're here to make sure it ain't built on a lie. Fields scoffed. Who do you think you are? Eli answered for him. I'm her son. Silence. The kind that makes your heartbeat sound like it's on a microphone. Emma stepped into the open doorway, veil lifting in the breeze. She saw her boy, flushed and shaking, standing in front of a wall of leather and chrome. She saw Red. She saw Fields' jaw, and her stomach turned, because deep down she already knew. Daniel, she whispered. Fields' smile cracked. She's confused, he told the crowd. He's confused. Kids make things up. He started down the steps, reached for Eli, grabbed his arm. It wasn't the hardest grab in the world. It didn't have to be. The town saw his fingers bite into the boy's skin like he'd done it before. The mask slipped. Let him go. Red said. 3 words, flat and final. A warning dressed like politeness. Fields hesitated. The bikers behind Red didn't move. Didn't shout. Didn't reach. They didn't have to. Fields' brother, Officer Mark Fields of Maple Ridge PD, pushed through the guests. Hand already up. What's going on? Emma's sleeve slipped just enough for the late light to kiss the faint yellow band on her arm. Mark saw it. The bruise she'd told him was from bumping a cabinet. He swallowed. Daniel, he said carefully. Step back. You're really doing this? Daniel snapped. You'd take their side. Look at them. I am, Mark said quietly. I'm looking real close. Emma clutched Eli to her, tears spilling. I told him it was an accident, she said. I wanted it to be. But it wasn't, was it? Eli sobbed into her dress. I told you, Mom. I told you. Something broke in her that wasn't going to be put back the old way. The crowd shifted. Guests who'd shaken Fields' hand 100 times now stepped away like his suit was made of smoke and rot. Red took a step back, giving the moment room to breathe. This wasn't his scene. This was theirs. Truth versus image. A mother versus the lie. She'd been holding like a lifeline. Fields swung around at the bikers. You think this is over? You think you can humiliate me? Red didn't blink. We didn't humiliate you, he said. You did that all by yourself. Mark's jaw clenched. Daniel Fields, you're coming with me, he said. For what? Fields barked. For us to have a real talk, Mark said. Downtown, now. It wasn't a formal arrest, not yet, but the spell was broken. Fields tried to smirk, tried to regain the crowd, but nobody stepped in. Not the priest, not the deacons, not the businessmen he'd bought drinks for. The quiet had turned against him. He yanked his arm free, but the damage was done. He'd put his hands on a kid in front of 70 bikers, a church full of witnesses, and a brother who'd finally opened his eyes. Red watched Emma. She held Eli like he was the only real thing left on earth. He walked forward, stopped a respectful distance away. Ma'am, he said, your boy's been trying awful hard to tell someone the truth. Her lip trembled. I know, she whispered. I didn't want it to be true. He believed you deserved better, Red said. That why he ran into traffic to stop us. Eli peeked up at her, terrified she'd be angry. She wasn't. She sank to her knees, cupped his face in both hands. You were right, she whispered. I'm so sorry I didn't listen sooner. He collapsed into her arms, crying so hard his whole body shook. And for a long moment, nobody moved, no music, no vows, just the sound of a kid finally being believed. The story should have ended there. Ride out. Engines fade. Bad man scowls. Internet forgets in a day. But that's not how Maple Ridge works, and that's not who Red was. By the time the sun hit the far hills, 3 things had already happened. Someone had filmed everything. Someone had posted it. And somewhere in a dim office with blinds half drawn, Daniel Fields looked at that video going viral and decided he'd rather go to war than admit defeat. At the old gas station on the edge of town, the unofficial clubhouse, the only place that ever let them pay with grease-stained bills and late-night stories, Red sat on the chipped concrete step and stared at the darkening road. Bear dropped down beside him, boots outstretched. You know that video's everywhere, right? Bear said. Red grunted. Good, he said. Let people see what their golden boy does when no one claps. Twitch came out with his phone. Comments are wild, he said. Did the bikers just save that woman? I misjudged these guys. Respect. Bunch of hate, too. But that's the internet. Doc leaned in the doorway, arms folded. Won't take long for the wrong people to notice. They already did, Red said. He flipped his own phone around. One new message, unknown number. You should have stayed out of it. Bear's hands tightened into fists. That him? Maybe, Red said. Maybe a friend. Doesn't matter. You worried? Twitch asked. Red thought of Eli's eyes when that hand closed around his arm. No, he said. I'm not. He was lying, but not for himself. Red didn't tell his brothers much about his childhood. They knew pieces. They knew about the drunk stepfather, the broken dishes, the bruises hidden under long sleeves. The night a younger Red had picked up a chipped glass ashtray and finally decided fear had had enough of a turn. They knew that when he heard someone say, "Nobody believes kids," something in him snapped back into those small shoes. That's why the boy's scream in the road had cut through the engines like it did, because once upon a time, Red had screamed too. No one had stopped, no engines, no brothers, no angels, just him. So when he saw Eli, he didn't see a stranger. He saw himself, and a chance to rewrite the part nobody rewrote for him. 2 days after the broken wedding, a woman pulled into the gas station in a sputtering sedan. She was in her 30s, hands shaking on the wheel. Which one of you is Red? She asked. That'd be me, he said. My name's Claire, she said. I saw the video. My sister's boyfriend, he hurts her. The cops said there's not much they can do. She won't press charges. She's scared. Red's jaw worked. Where is she? Trailer out by the woods, Claire said, voice cracking. She says if she tries to leave, he'll find her. Bear sighed. We just lit a fire under one rich psycho, he muttered. And now we keep showing up, Red cut in. Doc nodded slowly. Same rules, he said. No fists unless there's no other way. Talk first. Let her choose. They rolled out quiet near sunset. No cameras, no crowd. Just gravel, trees, and a crooked trailer with one busted porch light. The boyfriend came out mean-eyed and drunk. What the hell do you want? Red didn't flinch. To help her pack, he said. If she wants to go? You don't scare me, the man spat. I'm not here to scare you, Red answered calmly. I'm here to make sure if she walks, you don't lay a hand on her. Behind him, Bear Doc Twitch. Rizzo stood loose but unblinking. The guy's eyes flicked from one scarred face to another. His mouth twisted. Take her, he said finally. See if I care. Inside, Claire's sister already had a bag next to the door. She stepped past him without a word. Red opened the truck door. You ride with your sister, he said. You're safe. The woman looked back once, like she was leaving a grave she hadn't realized she'd been living in. Thank you, she whispered. Nah, Bear said. Thank your sister. She came for help. That night, it hit the news again. Angels on two wheels. Biker crew intervenes in second suspected abuse case. The thumbnail was red beside the trailer. Face unreadable. Some called them heroes. Some called them vigilantes. Some called them trouble. Daniel Fields just called his lawyer. You and your people publicly humiliated my client. The man in the gray suit said coolly, standing by a black SUV in the station lot 3 mornings later. There will be charges, trespassing, harassment, defamation. Red cleaned his hands on a rag. You got internet? He asked. Watch the tape again. Hear that kid scream. My client is a respected... Your client, Red interrupted, grabbed a child in front of a church full of witnesses. Maybe you represent him. We represent the ones nobody listens to. The lawyer's jaw tightened. You think the law will side with bikers? He sneered. Doc stepped up beside Red, voice mild. You think juries like rich men who grab crying kids? For a second, the lawyer had no answer. He slid his sunglasses back on. You're making enemies, he said. Red smiled without warmth. We've had enemies since before you. Learn to tie that tie, he said. The SUV rolled out in a hiss of gravel. Bear watched it go. We really ready for this, boss? he asked. No, Red said, but we're in it. That night the clubhouse, half gas station, half garage, half home, sat under a slung moon and a stubborn porch light. Someone had left a small folded note at the door. Keep riding. Inside, a second photo. The church scene. The bikes. Eli, Emma, Red. Someone had drawn a red target over Red's chest. Bear swore. Twitch's hands clenched. We going to let that slide? Red folded the photo. No, he said. We're going to keep doing exactly what scares them. What's that? Doc asked. Standing in front of people they can't buy, Red answered. The sheriff came by the next day, not to arrest, to warn. You boys rattled people up in Crestview, he said, sipping the coffee Bear handed him. Men like Fields got friends. That plaque on your wall, what plaque? Twitch frowned. The sheriff chuckled. Town council sent one. It's at my office. Guess they got cold feet bringing it over. He set the wooden thing on the table. For standing up when no one else would. Underneath, small burnt letters, Maple Ridge. The bikers stared at it. Nobody reached. Never thought I'd see the day. Bear muttered. Us getting a thank you from a town that used to cross the road when we walked by. Don't get soft, Red said, but his voice was gentler than the words. The sheriff leaned closer. Off the record? Y'all did more good than harm at that church, he said. Just don't give them an easy excuse to come after you. He left the plaque, drove away. Twitch nodded at it. Hang it up, he said. Inside? Doc asked. Nah, Red said. Right on the front wall, where everyone has to look at it before they... Judge, they bolted it beside the flag. Sunlight hit it all. Afternoon people slowing on the highway couldn't help but read it. Word got around. Did you see what the town gave them? Never thought I'd agree with a biker. Maybe I was wrong. Not everyone, but enough. Weeks. Past engines started and stopped. Some days were quiet, others weren't. A trembling young mother stopped by, baby on her hip, whispering, Your story gave me courage to leave. An old retired cop shook Red's hand. You did what we all wish we'd done more, he said. Listen faster. A teenage girl came with a black eye fading yellow. Her aunt by her side, he's threatened to kill her if she talks, the aunt said. Red didn't flinch. Then we make sure she doesn't. Stand alone when she does. They weren't law. They weren't saints. They weren't perfect, but they showed up, calm. First, talk first, law. First, and if all that failed, if a man lifted his hands again in front of them, then they made sure those hands remembered what fear felt like, never more than needed, always less than they wanted to, because they knew the whole world was finally watching. Not everyone cheered. Late one night, a bullet tore through the siding outside the clubhouse door. No one was hit, but the message was clear. Red stood in the doorway, streetlight catching the lines around his eyes. Fields? Bear asked, or one of his scared little friends, Red said. You want to hunt? Twitch asked, jaw tight. No, Red said. We don't hunt. We hold the line. You're not worried he's going after Eli? Doc asked. Red's gaze hardened. We stay in touch, he said. If they sneeze wrong near that boy, I'll be there before they finish. 3 months after the day the wedding bells went quiet, a dusty car rolled back into the lot. Emma stepped out first, jeans, loose sweater, sun on her face. No bruises, no forced smile. Eli climbed out behind her, taller, hair a little longer, skin browned by ocean wind. There was a light on his face that hadn't existed on that first day. He ran for Red like he'd known he'd be there. You kept the light on, Eli said. Red glanced up at the porch lamp that never got switched off now. Guess we did, he said. Bear shoved a cold root beer into Eli's hand. Beach treating you right? Bear asked. Eli grinned. Mom works at this diner near the pier. I can hear the waves in my room. She laughs now. That caught in Red's chest like a gear locking. Emma walked over, eyes already full. I don't know how many times I've tried to figure out the right words, she said. But there aren't any. You believed him. You gave us a way out. Red shook his head. He got on the road, he said. He stopped 70 bikes with a shout. That's more courage than most men carry in a lifetime. Eli dug into his backpack. I made this, he said. A small wooden keychain, rough, uneven, shaped like a motorcycle with wings. Carved letters, Ride for the Brave. Red swallowed. You calling us brave, kid? He asked. Eli shook his head. No, you ride for people who are. The men went quiet. Doc looked away, blinking faster than he'd admit. Red hooked the keychain onto his Harley keyring. "It ain't leaving," he said. "Promise." Emma's voice softened. "He tells everyone about you," she said. "In class. To friends, the day you showed up is the day he stopped thinking all grown-ups lie." Red let that sit. Somewhere inside, a broken, angry version of himself finally exhaled. "Good," he said. They stayed for coffee. Emma left a pie on the counter even when they tried to refuse. Eli climbed on 3 different bikes, grinning like the engines were dragons that had decided to be on his side. When they drove away, they all watched until the car disappeared. "Feels different now," Bear said. "Like what we did stuck." "It did," Red answered. He was sure of it. Maple Ridge changed in small ways first. People didn't flinch at the sound of engines. Diner refills came with real smiles. Parents pointed at the plaque and told their kids, those men helped save a boy and his mom. Kids on bicycles rode past, making vroom-vroom sounds, pretending they were part of the pack that saved people. Not everyone approved. Crestview Country Club chairs muttered. They didn't like their kind of power being challenged by men who didn't know which fork to use at dinner. But the story had roots now. Every time someone tried to spit on the bikers' names, someone else would answer, "I was there. I saw it. They did right." One late afternoon, the sheriff drove up again. No anger in his eyes, just a worn respect. "You know a charity group out of county is starting something," he said, stepping out with a flyer. "Ride for the Voiceless, domestic survivors. They want you boys at the front." Red looked at the printed logo. A bike, a small silhouette of a kid, wings. He almost laughed. "We're not a brand," he said. Sheriff shrugged. "Maybe not. But you started something. People listen to rumbling engines now." Bear smirked. "Imagine that. Us being the sound of hope." Doc chuckled low. Worlds turned upside down. Red didn't say yes. He didn't say no. But a month later, on a bright Saturday morning, the highway outside Maple Ridge was full. Rows and rows of bikes from other towns, leather cuts from other clubs. No colors of hate, just patches stitched with words like guardians, brotherhood, rescue. At the front, Red, Bear, Doc, Twitch. On the overpass, kids held signs. "Thank you. We believe. Ride for them." Eli watched from the side with his class, his teacher's hand on his shoulder. "That's him," he whispered to the boy next to him. "Those are my angels." The engines rolled by, not as a threat, but as a promise. People filmed. People cried. Fields watched from somewhere far away. The man who thought fear made him untouchable, now just another ghost no one trusted anymore. That night, the gas station porch was quiet again. Stars out, crickets singing. The plaque caught the glow of the porch light. Red sat back in his chair, boots on the railing. "Funny," Bear said, dropping into the seat beside him. "We didn't set out to be anyone's angels." "We're not," Red said. "Try telling them that," Doc added, leaning on the doorframe, nodding toward a stack of letters people had mailed in. "Stories, thanks, cries for help." Red picked up one, read a line where a woman wrote, "I showed my son your video. Now he believes that if something bad ever happens, good men still exist." He set it down. "We're not angels," he repeated. "We're just men who got tired of driving past the fire." Bear watched him. "You ever think that kid saved us too?" he asked. Red smiled faintly. "All the damn time." He pulled Eli's wooden keychain from his pocket, ran a thumb over the rough letters. "Ride for the brave." Out on the highway, a lone bike roared by, red tail light fading into the dark. Red lifted his chin like he was toasting an invisible brother. "Keep riding," he murmured. The porch light burned on, a small circle of gold against a wide, dark world. People started calling it the Angel's Light. Maybe that was dramatic. Maybe it was true. Didn't matter. What mattered was this. In a world where too many people look away, a kid loved his mom enough to stand in the road. A crew of battered men loved the truth enough to stop. And a small town finally loved courage enough to remember. If you've stayed with this story this far, you're part of it now. You heard Eli's cry. You watched Red and his brothers choose the hard ride over the easy silence. You saw how one moment of courage echoed into rescues, rides, and lives changed. So now it's your turn. If this story hit your heart, drop a comment and tell us where in the world you're watching from. Subscribe to Bikers Hype so we can keep bringing you powerful, real-style biker stories about courage, loyalty, and standing up for the voiceless. Like this video so the algorithm doesn't bury it. Share it with your friends and family. Someone out there needs to be reminded they're not alone, that there are still people willing to show up. And if you've got respect in your heart for real bikers who protect instead of prey, who ride like angels on two wheels when it counts, then prove your love. Hit subscribe, help us crush that first 1,000 subscribers, and share this story everywhere. Because engines fade, roads end. But the ones who show up when someone whispers, "Please don't let her," they never really disappear.